Hey y'all, so today I'm talking a little bit about my first article assignment. So for this first article assignment, I actually used somebody's dissertation for their master's degree at the University of Cincinnati. Her name is Stephanie Jackson, and she wrote a paper entitled Music Cover Design in the Digital Age, and it's basically exploring exactly that concept. So it's looking at how moving to mostly digital platforms and digital consumption has changed album designs. And so this is looking at like the pictures obviously are shrunk down when you're consuming it on Spotify. It's typically like a thumbnail unless you're like looking at the now playing feature, that kind of thing. And so it's basically looking at whether you can tell the same visual narrative through these shrunk down album designs. So she includes a literature review, and then she also includes an actual like research kind of study that she did where she had surveys, and she used 5 different methodologies in that research study. So some of like the key ones basically included like consumer surveys, obviously. So she was asking consumers like how they felt about a certain design, and then she had them do card sorting, so taking albums and ranking them against other albums, which one they prefer, that sort of thing, to actually get down to the nitty-gritty of what they like more artwork wise. And then she also used eras mapping. So basically she mapped out all the different eras over time in a timeline and placed album artwork on that timeline to kind of see the different trends in the artwork and see how those trends could potentially apply to future artwork or the current trends that are happening in the industry. And then the majority of the methodology section was this really in-depth album analysis. So she took 18 different albums she narrowed down what genre and decided on alt rock because of the like variation in different kinds of design for those albums. And she looked at 18 different specific album covers and detailed all the design elements in it. So whether that's like the typography, the color, the size of the different fonts, that kind of thing. So basically like looking and seeing how they told their visual story or what they wanted to convey through the album, but on like a very intense like specific scale. And so this is like relevant to the industry just because not a lot of research has been done about album artwork obviously in general, and then also album artwork in the digital age, which it's becoming much more relevant in our society, just because now, since it is all part of this like digital platform that we're using, artists have to consider their brand when they're making their album artwork, because it all has to kind of fit in aesthetically together. And so it definitely helps inform decisions for artists and marketers on that side of things. As far as relevance to my senior project as a whole is concerned, I'm hoping I decided to do a branding package for a music festival. So I'm going to do market research in Hattiesburg of what potential festivals would do well as far as like genre, demographic information like gender, age, that kind of thing is considered. And from there, I'm going to kind of create my own fake festival and create a branding package for it. And so for my own research, I think it's really helpful to see how she used previous album designs, because I hadn't really thought about doing that, but now for my research I could potentially look at previous designs for festival branding, for festival posters, and apply these same kind of methodologies of the eras sorting, so putting it on a timeline, maybe starting with like the original, like, you know, the typical 3 Days of Peace, Love and Music Woodstock poster, and ending with something more current in the current trends. I also think it would be really helpful to do analyses like she did of the individual albums of individual festival posters, and maybe those specifically that I want to emulate kind of in my own design for my project. And then also it's just a great resource for graphic design principles in general. So I think it's really important to have those clear definitions and those clear elements that I'm looking for in my own project. And I think that her study kind of sets me up to go in the right direction towards applying like a specific typography to every single element that I choose, or maybe setting a color scheme, like that kind of thing. So those are some of the different elements that she mentioned that I could potentially take with me to apply to my own project. So overall, I'm super excited to get started, and this article definitely sparked an interest in me about just design in general and how I could potentially use older artwork to inform my decisions that I'm making now. And I think she made some really relevant points to our industry just about digital platforms as far as branding is concerned, and how album artwork now wraps into a whole artist's brand. And so these simplistic, smaller images like still need to tell a visual story or convey that brand, and that's something that I want to get across in all of my elements of my project, is that brand image. And so I think she just did a really good job of setting an example of what I'm looking for potentially in future designs. So yeah, I'm excited to get started.